The making of a kolache begins with the dough. It consists of a dough mix that was developed by parishioner Irma Kelly, working with a local manufacturer over 25 years ago. The dough mix is combined with sugar, yeast, and warm water. It is then mixed in a large commercial mixing bowl for a minimal amount of time, generally less than 2 minutes. After the dough is mixed, it's transferred into tubs and placed on racks to go into the first proofing box, where the dough rises, about an 80-minute process. Warm, humid air in the proofer box creates an ideal environment for the yeast to grow and expand the dough. Ideally, we can get about 12 tubs into the proof box at a time. This is in contrast to the old days, when covered buckets of dough were raised on the floor in a very warm kitchen environment. It worked for many years. Once the dough has about doubled in size, it's ready to be made into the balls that will eventually contain the filling. This process has definitely evolved over the years. In the beginning, pieces of dough were cut with a tomato paste can, and then hand-rolled by women in the parish who knew just the right technique for rolling without overworking the dough. Later, a rounder was purchased when a grocery store went out of business, and that was used to cut 3-pound batches of dough into 36 perfectly shaped dough balls. These were transferred to trays to be proofed once again. Now that the new bakery is being used, we still have a rounder, but the new one has a larger capacity to produce dough balls. Rather than stamping out 36 balls at a time, this machine takes dough that is dropped into a hopper, then cut into the appropriate size pieces and formed into balls that come out on a conveyor belt. The dough balls still have to be hand transferred to trays because they need to be in just the right position for later when it's time to create the holes for the fillings. The volunteers transferring the balls place them in 5x7 rows on parchment-lined aluminum trays. The trays are loaded onto racks that are then moved into a second proofing machine, where the dough balls take about another 75 minutes to double in size. Once the dough balls are ready, it's time to fill them with delicious fruit filling, but not just yet. Each dough ball needs to have a hole made in the center to hold the filling. In the beginning, women used their fingers to make a depression for the filling. Later, a small drinking glass, wrapped in a tea towel and dipped in flour to prevent sticking, was used to make the holes. With our new process, we now use a 5-row tamper bar with round plastic pieces that allow volunteers to make 5 holes at a time, as opposed to 1 at a time. Careful development has created tampers that go just the right depth and are just the right size for lots of filling. The tricky part is not making the holes too far ahead of filling them, otherwise they tend to continue to rise and the holes start closing in again. Filling the kolaches has always been a time-consuming process. Volunteers would work together to make holes, then fill each individual kolache with one of the many delicious fruit flavors, using either a spoon or a cookie scoop. It would be easy to over or underfill with fruit, so it took some finesse. This is called hand filling, and because of a lesser volume, 3 of our flavors will still be done this way. The new facility has unifillers, which are essentially air-powered guns that shoot filling in desired amounts into desired places. As much as 30 lbs of filling can be placed into the hopper of one of the unifillers, and then the desired amount per deposit can be dialed in. Once that's established, each hole gets shot with the filling, and as long as the volunteer is experienced, quick, and precise, all goes pretty well. Cherry, strawberry, apple, and apricot, the most popular flavors, are done using the unifillers. Once a tray is filled and the appropriate topping added, some kolaches do not get any, they are placed on a rack to be baked. The new ovens can hold 2 racks of 20 trays that are then loaded onto a rail, so the racks can rotate during the baking process. It allows us to evenly bake more kolaches at a time. After the kolaches are baked to a golden perfection, they are moved to the last station involved with their creation, buttering. Here, the hot kolaches get brushed with a nice coat of real butter to boost flavor and appearance. This is the kolaches' last stop before they are once again loaded on carts to be transferred to the packaging area. In packaging, decisions are made as to how to divide up the kolaches into dozens or half dozens. Assorted dozens are also assembled for those who want to sample all the flavors. After all this, the kolaches are finally ready to be sold to the public. Still, just dough and filling, and still delicious.